Get it going. Okay, thank you all so much for being here tonight. For those of you who haven't been here before, we have this unbelievably lengthy series of paragraphs I have to read into the record before we can even actually start. So let me do that. All meetings of the Board of Education are open to members of the public unless publicly noticed as a confidential closed session as allowed by the law. Members of the public may address the board as outlined in the public comment section of the agenda. The audio of all meetings is recorded and a member of the public may be held liable for any slanderous or otherwise defamatory statements. In consideration of the board and members of the audience, please turn off or silence your cell phones while in the boardroom. The San Marino Unified School District encourages those with disabilities to participate fully in the public meeting process. If you need a disability-related modification or accommodation, including auxiliary aids or services to participate in the public meeting, please contact the assistant to the superintendent at jdelatorre@SMUSD.us or by calling the district office and asking for her. Do so 48 hours before the scheduled board meeting so that we may make every reasonable effort to accommodate you. Documents provided to a majority of the Board of Education regarding an open session item are on this agenda will be made available for public inspection in the district office located here at 1665 West Drive, San Marino during normal business hours. In addition, such writings and documents may be viewed on the district's website. Public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have three options: submit an online form, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom, request to speak during the meeting in person via a public comment card. Should you submit through an online form, you may do so on or before, between 11 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. on December 13th. Did we receive any? We have no comments tonight, so there will be none from that vehicle today. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. The raised hand function is used to take requests during the public comment period. For online attendees, press the raised hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. Should you request to speak during the meeting in person via a public comment card, please complete the card and submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant superintendent, which is over there. Opportunities for public comment are offered at the start of the regular open session for matters not on the agenda and for matters on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board president retains the discretion to adjust and limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. Communications from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections, please provide your comments now.
Thank you, President Caldwell. We will go ahead and pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding any matters that are not on the agenda or items that are in the action sections of the agenda. Go ahead and press the raise hand icon if you'd like to make a request, or dial *9 if you're dialing in.
Still no Jeopardy music.
We're working on it.
Too late.
Send it to her.
20 seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Okay, President Caldwell, there are no requests.
Okay, thank you. So with that, shall we begin with the pledge? You're going to do the intro.
Thank you, President Caldwell. Tonight, we are excited to have with us a fifth grade pioneer from Carver Elementary School, William Chen. We're going to invite him up to the podium. And William Chen is currently the Fall Student Council Secretary. So we look forward to hearing a little bit about what you do in your leadership role.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Della Torre, distinguished board members, and all those in attendance. First of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to join.
You're a great start. You want to take a few minutes? Drink some water. Yeah. Okay. Let's just take a little break. That's nice. Come on, sweetie. Yeah.
So we're going to take a brief break. Let's give us a moment here.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Della Torre, distinguished board members, and all those in attendance. First of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to join me this wonderful evening. My name is William Chen, and I am a proud fifth grade Carver pioneer from Carver Elementary. It is a privilege to me to stand here today and speak to you about our Student Council Service Project and our recent field trip to San Marino High School. I cannot believe that this year will be my very last year at Carver. Carver will always be part of me wherever I go. This year is my second year of running for Student Council. I love being in Student Council since it gives me the opportunity to develop my leadership skills, as well by organizing and carrying out fun school events as well as service projects. As the holiday season is here, it is time to spread our love to our community. At our recent student council meeting, we decided to help those in need with our Carver toy and book drive for the Union Station Homeless Shelter in Pasadena. I think this is a great way to give back to our community, which will surely make you and others feel good. Our task is to collect unopened toys and new books to donate to children ages 4 to 11 at Union Station. We are holding the drive this week from December 12th to this Friday, the 16th. Please join us to make a difference in the lives of others. Last week on December 2nd, Carver fifth graders had a unique opportunity to visit San Marino High School for a fun all-day field trip where you could see, hear, and learn about visual and performing arts, aka VAPA programs that the San Marino High School had to offer. During the field trip, we visited 9 wonderful workshops. These include dance, drama, visual arts, band, choir, orchestra, pathway, media arts, and graphic design workshops. All of these workshops were very fun and interesting. Each workshop focused on a specific topic and gave all the fifth graders a preview into what it would be like to join VAPA programs. Not only that, all of the workshops were student-led by San Marino High School students. In my opinion, the graphic design workshop is the most notable one. At this graphic design workshop, I was able to design a poster for the Carver toy and book drive. This is the poster that I was able to create thanks to the tools and programs I learned while in the workshop. I would like to thank the San Marino Unified School District for this wonderful opportunity to learn about VAPA programs. This amazing field trip reminded me of how lucky I am to be a part of the San Marino school community. I cannot wait to join VAPA programs in Huntington Middle School and San Marino High School. More importantly, I'm very grateful for my wonderful teachers that have taught and mentored me all these years, and my family and friends that have always given me continuous support. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. Today, as I welcome you to the award-winning San Marino Unified School District Board meeting, I would like to pay respect to our country and our flag. Please join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
William, will you join us up here to take a picture, sweetheart? I just want to say it's not easy to get up and speak in front of a lot of people, and you did a fantastic job. Let's give him one more round.
Okay, thank you. So we now move to the approval of our agenda for this evening. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I would
So
like
moved.
to make a motion to approve the agenda tonight.
Thank you, Joseph. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Shelley. May we vote? Mike?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Jane? Aye. Shelley?
Aye.
Yes. All right, so now we need to approve our minutes for the November 15th Board of Education meeting. Do I have a motion to approve our minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jane. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mike. Okay, let's vote. Mike?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Me? Aye. So now we'll move on to our district spotlight, the debate team. And we have Mr. Kassan Clay and Mr. Wynn Mordecai. Are you together? Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, you look together, so I think this is looking good.
Well, thank you, Board President Caldwell, members of the board, new members of the board, Superintendent De La Torre, executive team, and student board. Oh, Kelly's not here tonight. Well, Kelly. SMHS is proud to celebrate the accomplishments of our debate team. Our debate team has continually won awards at regional competitions and consistently sends students to nationals. However, their excellence is not something that comes easily. These students compete in over 20 competitions a year, all throughout California and all throughout the country. They put in a lot of hard work in preparation for these competitions. Mr. Wynn Mordecai, former outstanding speech and debate student at SMHS, who graduated in 2016 from SMHS and Duke in 2020. That's correct, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Duke in 2020 is the assistant debate coach. And he's going to talk a little bit more about this amazing debate team. please welcome Mr. Mordecai.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see many familiar faces. I'd like to say hi to the board and to the parents and everyone listening at home. I have comments for the parents because I think that this team's success is largely owed to you. I'll get to that in a bit, but first I'd like to have everybody give another round of applause to our students who are here, who all trophied at our most recent league tournament, which was fall debate. This is one of the several tournaments a year during which our students don't compete in an open bracket where every school can enter, but rather just the Southern California Debate League students compete against each other. And it is at the fall iteration of our league tournament at which we won what I believe was our 22nd sweepstakes trophy. So that means of all the different schools that competed in our league, we did the best. So give our students a big round of applause. I'm not sure it was our 22nd. It's something around there. We've lost count, and there's maybe a bit of swagger that comes with that amnesia. Not even knowing how well we've done for so long. But I will quickly read off the names of the students who achieved trophies during this past tournament. And there are a lot, as you see, and that's not all of them. There are actually several who are not here. I can't blame them. Finals, I believe, are next week. So no shame in not coming, but thank you to those who have. So at this tournament, we have Jane Kang, Sardish Randawa, and Caroline Wang for all going undefeated in novice of Lincoln Douglas. So the novice division is for first-year students, and we had 3 first-year students who didn't lose a single round. And that was just in one event. So there are 4 debate events total. Then we also had Catherine Suh and Jennifer Shee, who went undefeated in public forum debate. And we had, that was it for our novice division. And then we had the open division where everybody up to a senior can compete. And we had our novices entering that as well. And our novices did very well in the open division as well. So we had Yanni Chow, a sophomore who received first place in Lincoln Douglas. We had Celine Shee for receiving second place in Lincoln Douglas, also a sophomore. Right? Or you're not a junior, are you? You are a junior? But you were novice last year, weren't you? No? Must be, did you enter with Brandon? Okay, now it all makes sense. Okay, the students understand. All right, we had Abby get 4th place in Lincoln Douglas. And then we had Jane Kang, who's a freshman, get 5th place in Lincoln Douglas. So she was competing against 4-year seniors. People have been doing this for a long time, and she still got 5th in the league, which is very impressive. We had Valerie Zhu and Nikki Yamamoto get 6th place in parliamentary debate. Ellie Vitan and Libby Espenshade getting 7th in parley. And then Truman Koch and Raheel Siddiqui getting 8th in parley. Then for our last event policy debate, we had Davis Lang and Caroline Louie get 1st place. And then we had Connor Huang and Winston Chow getting 3rd place in policy. And like Jane, Connor and Winston are freshmen. So they got 3rd place in the open division with all the seniors. So very, very proud of them. So yeah, this last little thing I'll say is just that I'm 25. I'm now 2 years out of college and 6 years out of high school. And at the time at which I was in San Marino schools, I didn't fully appreciate the way that this community fosters such an emphasis on education. And when you're in it and it's all you've ever known, it doesn't seem particularly special. But now that I've returned to this community as an educator, not just as a student, and I've had the perspective of being elsewhere, which was Duke, by the way, a place theoretically that has, fairly intense emphasis on education. But still San Marino is special. It makes the other places I've been pale in comparison, and it comes out through the kids. They have such a curiosity for learning more and educating themselves, and it really makes my job as a debate coach easy, because the students know where they're lacking in information. They know the right questions to ask, and that's the key to being a good debater, is not knowing everything. That's impossible. The key is knowing what you need to ask, what you need to research, where your deficits in knowledge are, so that you can be prepared for the questions you'll be asked when you're in a round, and for the potential arguments that you'll need to counter when you're in a round. And this community has done such a good job of fostering our students' ability to just, like a little heat-seeking missile, they can find the information that they need to find, they can figure out what they need to learn, and it makes them incredible debaters. I mean, there are only 4 debate events, and we got first place in 2 of them out of all the schools in the league. So one more round of applause for the students. All right, that's all I had to say.
So we'd like to get a photograph with all of the students up here in the front. With the board. And of course, Mr. Sam, and of course you. Thank you so much. Great presentation. Look at the tall people in the back. I know. Very happy about your gift of perspective. Yes. All right. Let's kind of squeeze in here. Make sure we can see everybody's face. Can we all kind of shift over here? Your left, my right. There we go. Just shift over a little bit so we're more centered. Okay. Are you guys gonna be able to get that? You want it there or? Thank you so much.
As you all are walking out, and please feel free to do that, I just wanted to reiterate how proud we are of your commitment to debate and your performance. It's great. It's a tremendous thing at the high school, and it's great to have you all continuing. Okay, so now, everyone back. Shelley, just wait a second. Yeah, you can begin to meander on over there if you want. I'm just waiting for. So now we're going to have a little presentation hopefully big presentation from the foundation. The bigger, the better.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes.
good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Moeller and I'm president of the San Marino Schools Foundation. And with me this evening, we have Catherine Oliveros, our program manager. We have members of our executive team. We have Lisa Wang, we have Joanna Bueller, we have Maurice Saldibar this evening, and I hope I haven't forgotten anybody, but I am so pleased, we are so pleased to be able to present our first $1 million grant to the school district of this year. And I think I can very safely say that another $1 million will be coming in the spring. We are so proud to support 20 wonderful teachers at all 4 of our school sites. So we will see you in the spring, and thank you for having us here this evening.
Thank you so much.
Will you guys join for a photo?
We have fillers, right?
All bases, everybody look here on the count 3. 1, 2, and 3. My turn, right here. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's great to have such a nice check.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like fabulous. Okay. I think I'm done.
Okay. Okay, so this evening I have the distinct pleasure and honor of recognizing the 2 board members who were appointed to serve the San Marino Unified School District upon resignation of others in service to the district. First, I will begin with Mr. Michael Kalaki, who has 2 sons currently enrolled in the middle and the high school. We just were honored with one of your son's presence. He's a very good debater, speech and debate team. And his wife, Stephanie, who I don't see in the audience today, I'm sure she's busy volunteering. But she is very actively involved in both the Huntington and the high school PTAs. She's consistently volunteered her time to support our schools in ways too numerous to count. So we are very grateful to your family for her service as well. Mr. Kalaki, on behalf of our Board of Education and our executive team, I wish to thank you for your willingness to step up and step in when needed and to serve in this important capacity. We wish you much success and happiness in all of your future endeavors and hope that you will continue in service to the school district in many important ways. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalaki. We have a wonderful plaque for you, Jennifer, and we'd like to get a photograph. We can get.
Are we all going again?
Yes.
Oh. We're gonna need a pass through.
So the plaque reads, presented to Mr. Michael Kalaki in appreciation and recognition of his service as a San Marino Unified School District Board of Education member, June 2021 through December 2022. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you so much. We got.
I know, it's not literally anymore, and I'm on West.
President, can I make a comment on the outgoing school board member Mike Hiraki? On behalf of the school district, because the 2 years ago I was a president. So during the time we have a COVID-19 period. So Mike and I, we are the two work together and really make this school district and children and the teacher safe. So I really appreciate, yeah. So we hope you can join the Golden Bear Award, yeah, but not on the picture. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and next, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to recognize President Jeannie Caldwell. Jeannie has been elected to our Board of Education previously on 2 separate occasions. And the remarkable thing about President Caldwell is that she was willing to come out of retirement to not only serve as an appointed member of the Board of Education, but also to serve as our distinguished president. And that is a pretty big responsibility. It's a big enough responsibility to come back and just serve the board, but to come back and lead the board is truly remarkable. And so we are so grateful to her for that. She has returned to our district when we needed her the most. And for that, we are eternally grateful. She has selflessly given of her time, her institutional knowledge and expertise to support the mission, the vision, and the direction of the school district moving forward, all in the name of providing a premier educational experience for every single one of our students, all meaning all of our students. And I really do value and appreciate the fact that she is so caring and so considerate and really does think about every child and meeting them where they're at. She did bring back the 4 A's. We never really left the 4 A's, but she brought them back to the center, which is really where they need to be. The academics, of course, arts, athletics, and activities. And so we are so grateful to her for really bringing us back to where we need to be as a school board and an executive team. So thank you, Jeannie, for that. And thank you for serving this school district with dignity, intelligence, sophistication, and class. We have a plaque for you too.
But you're going to hold the plaque. aren't
I'm
you?
going to hold the plaque because I believe our president would like to make a few remarks.
She would. So anyone who knows me in this group, I think especially now knows that I talk a lot, and I'm about to do that again. So I'll tell you up front. But I just didn't want to go without making a few parting comments. And, I'm Southern, a few is a little relative. So what I did script it because I wanted to make sure that I kind of got my points across, I guess. And so essentially, as I'm leaving you today, I really wanted to take this few minutes of personal privilege. And first, I want to thank the board for selecting me 6 months ago for this seat. I very much appreciate that. As was the case in my first 2 elected terms, this was and remains my favorite volunteer job ever. Hands down, favorite one. I'll just tell you that right now. It is clearly the most fulfilling and most rewarding of all those jobs. So Mike, as we've already talked about, is joining me in exiting today. And I'd also like to thank Mike for his passion and commitment to both education and to SMUSD. We are a great district because of people like Mike. I also want to address our current and to-be board members. Jane, I wish you well as you finish your first term. It's clearly been a rough first few years. It's nothing like trial by fire, and congratulations to you. Joseph and Shelley, congratulations for you and your continuing service to SMUSD. I just don't know what we'll all do as a community when we don't see you all up here. Francesca, Joanna, thank you for your willingness to run for office. It's not easy to make that commitment. It's probably the only thing harder than public speaking. So I just, I want to highlight that because it's a very, very big deal. The five of you have been entrusted with an extraordinary responsibility, and I have no doubt in your ability to meet the demands that have now been placed on you as a board. But notwithstanding that, you don't do this for a long time without learning a few things, and I'm going to share with you what I learned. Hopefully to jumpstart the new ones, and perhaps to have those of you who have been around for a while just recall what you already know. So the first thing, for me in terms of a board lesson is that every member of the board brings a unique perspective, background, and life experience to the role. It's the genius of the design of a board that when the five members of the board work together, all of those gifts and talents get reflected in the work. And that's really key, is the five have to work together. Today starts your plan for finding your replacement. You may be here for 2 years, you may be here for 4 years, but it is your responsibility to ensure that there are people prepared, ready, and identified and willing to take this position and run with it in 2 or 4 years, whenever that time comes. Lastly, well, not lastly, I got a lot more. Next up, board members, I think that sometimes we forget that we're role models. We normally have a student sitting in that seat here. We routinely have students in our board meetings, and even if we don't, we are recorded and videotaped. So we are role models. We're role models to the community, and we're role models to our students. And I think it's really incumbent upon us not only to just make good decisions, but to make those decisions in ways that teach our students how to debate, how to share opinions, and even how to disagree in a professional way. So I just, I can't say enough about that. Everything can be done in a way where we are role models to our main constituents. Educate. Very, very few people in the community get to sit in these seats. And that means that they don't really have much of an opportunity to really learn about the rules and the regulations and the obligations of the school district. The five people who sit up here are the five that know. So when we get ready to make decisions, sometimes folks don't always understand the way in which we make a decision, or the facts, the ways, the decision-making process. And it's incumbent upon all of us that are board members to help them understand. They may not, but we still must help them understand. And so I just can't emphasize enough how important communication really is. It has to happen. Discernment. I love the word discern. It's one of my favorite words. The higher up you get in any field anywhere, the more facts conflict, the more information you hear. Things are very, very different. And what happens here in the board is our district staff does just a phenomenal job of providing us the required information we need to make decisions. Notwithstanding that, though, there may be things that the different board members need. And so they may need to ask questions. They may need to do some other research. There are lots of people who share their own opinions, constituents that share their own opinions. And all of that gets put together, and the discernment process is really determining which of those facts are the ones that make sense for the ultimate decision. And I really encourage folks to really think of it that way, because all facts aren't equal. So you really have to discern what facts support whatever decision it is. So the last lesson, but not the last words, is to have fun. Groucho Marx once said, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Joy and happiness are routinely linked to best outcomes of anything, whatever it is, because having fun improves communication, it improves collaboration, and it breeds creativity. And there is increasing research that says that when you're having fun, you're encouraging advocacy. And advocacy is the act of creating this force of people who shape the public perception of what the board does. So advocacy is the goal. It's the outcome. It's really what you want to be able to have. And I think you really get it by approaching the job with fun and joy. I also would like to thank the many wonderful members of SMUSD staff. It's been a real treat to get to work with many of you again after like well more than a decade. So I very much appreciate that. And I've also really enjoyed getting to know the new staff here. That has also been really terrific. I continue to be impressed with the incredible talent we have here at the district office, all of our teachers, everyone, everywhere. Linda, I was especially happy to be able to work with you again. Many of you may not know this, but many years ago, when I was actually elected to the board, Linda resigned. And she was going to take, at the time, she was our human resources person. And I have managed lots of people in my day, and I've spent a lot of time in human resources working with them on, the kinds of things you do when you manage lots of people. And so Linda was not only, in my estimation, just really good at what she did. She was so good, we shouldn't lose her. And so the rest of the board members that were with me at the time all agreed, and we agreed we needed to work to get Linda to come back. Well, she didn't actually leave. We managed to stop it before she actually left. So we were successful in doing that. And I'm so thankful that we made that decision so many years ago, because if not for that, she wouldn't be sitting here. Well, probably wouldn't be sitting here on my left today. So I'm very, very glad that we were able to keep you here. Now the lastly part. So I also am a huge fan of quotes. So I wanted to leave you all with a quote from Aristotle. So Aristotle seemed kind of appropriate for our discussion. Aristotle is best known for inventing the scientific method of analysis, which I think sort of falls into the critical thinking skills that perhaps Wynn was kind of talking a little bit about earlier. So the quote is that excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. So team, your choice.
Jeannie, I want to thank you for your kind words, and Mr. Chang, I will tee you up for your comments in just a second. But I mean, just that was evidence of just how much you have contributed to leadership and to our goals and our vision going forward. And I thank you for that. And we will eternally be in your debt. I did want to take this moment to acknowledge your better half, Mr. Caldwell, who is sitting in the audience. I'm sure he has had to really do this by proxy at home, right? Because it is a really big responsibility. So thank you, Mr. Caldwell, for supporting her. And so now we're going to present you with a plaque, but I want to let Mr. Chang and any other board members say.
Thank you. Before Dr. Directori honor the Jeannie with a plaque, I have some which I got in the CSBA. Can you put the picture? Yeah, and open.
Oh,
my gosh, 2001.
wow. Look at both of you look so different.
So this November
like
30, 2001.
That looks like a Miami Vice jacket, Joseph.
Jeannie, you've improved with age.
Good.
No, you look good there too.
So
Thank
please,
you.
Made this.
take the picture.
He literally
Yes.
hammered this together. After CAF.
Yeah.
Jane and I were watching him do this in awe. Yeah, I know. I do have pictures.
No, so
Yeah.
he literally made this for you,
Uh-huh.
and he made it thinking of.
So
Oh, we have
please read.
songs too. I love an easy challenge. Happily retired. If I wear that to the office tomorrow, what do you think will happen? This is awesome.
That is
so much. Joseph. This is great.
And I,
I will tell you, I don't remember a convention where we had hammering as an option.
Yeah, they always have, yeah.
Lots of hands-on.
Yes. Work. Was a hands-on
That's
activity for
great. Well,
sure.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so before we present President Caldwell with her plaque, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the format of this evening. So tonight we have planned a very special 15-minute reception, which will take place out in the reception area. And that is to really honor the service of our outgoing board and to celebrate and acknowledge our wonderful newly elected board. And so we are going to be doing that for 15 minutes. It's going to be very brief, but we're going to go out there and do that. When the reception is over, the outgoing members and their family are free to leave, or you can stay here. It's up to you. You may have had enough. Up to you. All right. But we're going to reconvene in here. And when we reconvene, in accordance with our board policy 9121, our Vice President, Jane Chan, will be presiding over the election of new officers for this year. And that's pursuant to our board policy. So I just want to let everybody know that that's the format. And then once a new president is voted on this evening, then that president, whomever it is, will take over the meeting. And so, yeah, let's honor Jeannie's service with the plaque. Take pictures. Yeah. Are you suggesting she wear her socks for the photo? Okay. Okay, and President Caldwell, this reads, in appreciation and recognition of your service as a San Marino Unified School District Board of Education member, June 2022 through December 2022. And this is just, you know, round 3. So we'll get you a new one if you decide to come back again later on. The other thing? I do.
Bring a 1, 2, and 3. And me too. Thank you.
Yeah, some refreshments. Gotta make some adjustments there.
I just officially met Christine.
Oh, you did. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Oh, you hadn't met her before? Oh. Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
She was like. With me.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Especially after our last meeting. But yes, yeah. Oh, no, with Jason.
Stephen?
Mhm. Okay.
Are we ready to start again?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, you want me to sit down?
No, it doesn't matter. You can
But
show
she's
it.
not there. Oh, because the student board member.
What student board member?
We want to have.
You can do whatever you want with my thing.
Okay, we'll go ahead and resume the meeting. Thank you, Dr. Choi. Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming back to our meeting. We are now going to introduce our new incoming governing board members, Dr. Delatorre.
Yes, I have the pleasure of, where are we? Sorry. Introducing to you all our wonderfully new elected board members. We have on the far end, Francesca Gill. And Francesca Gill is someone who is not new to our community. She's been around
for several years and has family members in the community, deep roots. And she has children at both the middle school, coming into the middle school, and then coming up to the high school for this coming year, 23-24. So we're excited to have you joining our school board, and thank you for your service. I'm sure you're exhausted from all that campaigning. But thank you for your willingness to do the heavy lifting and to be a part of this amazing work that we're doing on behalf of students in San Marino. And next to her, I have the wonderful Joanna Lamb, who is fairly new to the community, but she does have, she has such wonderful ties to our community. She has a newborn. How old is your baby now?
He's 3 months.
3 months old. She has a brand new baby. She has a 1-year-old, and she has a kindergartner who is here with us today, Jasmine, who's sitting next to her grandfather. And so we are so pleased to have Joanna Lamb become part of our Board of Education. It's wonderful that she is just starting out, and something that President Caldwell, past President Caldwell, said a little bit earlier about how each board member brings to the table different perspectives. And that's what really makes the magic and really makes us great as we see things through different lenses. And so I'm so grateful that you are here with us and that you have volunteered your time and your brilliance to be a part of this wonderful Board of Education. And we are all going to just do amazing things on behalf of children. So that is my introduction of our 2 board members. And then the 2 other board members who were reelected to the board, of course, are Shelley Ryan. Shelley Ryan is going to be beginning her 9th year as a board member. And so we are eternally grateful to her. She has had 2 children go through the school system, elementary, middle, and high school. She has her son here with us today. And so we're so happy to see him here. Shelley is an administrator in a public school district that is neighboring. And so she really understands education in a very intimate way and has a love and a passion for doing what's best for all children served. And so we're very grateful to have you back at the table. And then we have C. Joseph Chang, who is no stranger to board service. C. Joseph Chang is starting his 21st year as a school board member. That deserves a little bit of an applause. And that makes him our longest serving board member in the history of our school district. So we are extremely grateful to him for his service and his dedication. I don't think I've ever met a human being in San Marino that is so well connected as Mr. Chang. Mr. Chang knows someone in every organization. He is very resourceful and really did a lot of the work with Dr. Stephen Choi in making us eligible for the CSBA's Golden Bell Award for Innovation During a Time of Crisis. And we were able to get that award at the conference in December this month. And so thank you, Mr. Chang, for your selfless service. We really, really appreciate all the work that you do on behalf of all of our students. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I will swear each of you in, and we're going to do this individually this evening. So what I'd like to do is come around, and I'm going to ask Mr. Chang to come around. I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go in reverse order. That's okay. And Mr. Chang, if you have family members that you would like to join you.
You know, I always hide in my family. It's not one. So I want to understand. So and I ask them. They're gonna do stay here.
Oh my gosh. and Mr. Chase is here as well, who went through our schools. I'm so sorry, and I saw you earlier, so I apologize. for that. Yes, and so Mr. Chang also has another son who could not be with us this evening. Oh, he's on Zoom. Okay, wonderful. So actually, his entire family is here, and his wonderful wife too, who does so much behind the scenes to help support C. Joseph Chang in his work on the board. So thank you for being here this evening. Okay, so please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, C. Joseph Chang,
I see Joseph Chan,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the United States
and the Constitution
Constitution,
of the State of California
the state of California,
against all enemies,
against all enemy,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance,
I will bear true allegiance, yeah,
to the Constitution
to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States,
and the Constitution
Constitution,
of the State of California,
state of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take a obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental mention
or purpose of evasion,
and the purpose of evasion,
and
and
that I will
I will Well.
and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties upon which
the duty of arms
I'm about to enter.
enter.
That's it. You are sworn in, Mr. Chang.
So last time, especially with me was like this. The high.
Patrick's a little taller now.
Stephen's not counting.
Right. Okay, all right, congratulations. Thank you so much. Next, we have Shelley Ryan.
I also like to call on my family.
Yes, please.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, Mrs. Ryan, if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Shelley Ryan, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
except Canada.
He's holding that hand really tight.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
of the United States
United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of.
What has your hand?
Okay.
You're mentioning Canada.
Okay.
That I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations.
or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter
Again.
again.
Picture. Okay, great. Congratulations.
Would you like your family to join us? Jasmine? Okay, that's okay. All right, perfect. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joanna Lamb. Do solemnly swear that. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely.
that I take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
For purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties.
and that I will
Well.
that I will well and faithfully
Discharge the duties.
discharge the duties
Upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
You are sworn in.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And next we have. Francesca and her family. I don't fight, I promise. Okay, Francesca, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Francesca Gill. Do solemnly swear that. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely.
that I take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully.
and that I will well and faithfully
Discharge the duties upon.
discharge the duties upon
Which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
You are sworn in. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. We don't know where to look, right? Okay, congratulations. I think we got better at that as we went on. Myself included.
I don't think we've ever usually take that long. That was a marathon, you know.
You can do it as a group, but we chose to do it individually.
Oh, yeah. No, that
So
was
now
fine.
it's your own, right?
Yeah, we're up here.
Okay.
So election of officers.
Okay, so now we are at item what?
Okay, thank you.
Number?
A,
Item 8B.
we're-
Item 8B, and I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Jane Chon.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, so at this time, the Board of Education will take action to nominate a board president, board vice president, and board clerk for the 2022-23 calendar year. At this time, are there nominations for the office of president of the Board of Trustees?
I'd like to nominate Shelley Ryan.
Is there a second?
I second.
Do you, Shelley, Mrs. Ryan, do you accept the nomination?
I accept.
I now entertain a motion for appointment of a nominee to the Board Office of President for the 2023 calendar year. The nominee is Shelley Ryan. And the motion was made by Francesca Gill, seconded by Joseph Chang. All those in favor, I'll take a roll call. Francesca?
Aye.
Joanna? Shelley?
Aye.
Joseph?
I,
Jane? Aye. And with that, the motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Do you want to ask the student board member?
Oh, I'm sorry.
She snuck in.
I'm so sorry, Kelly. I did not realize that you came in. Student board member Kelly Ryan, Kelly Trin. Thank you, Kelly Ryan.
Kelly
I know,
Ryan.
that's Kelly Ryan, wrong Kelly.
Not Kelly Ryan, yes.
And with that, the motion passes. Congratulations, President Ryan.
Thank you, Mrs. Chung.
Should we rotate now through and have Mrs. Ryan continue?
No,
I
no,
think
we
we
have
just
to
keep
do the
going.
next one.
Yeah,
Can you
and
do it?
then we can switch.
Okay.
So, Vice
Um,
President Chung, I would like to nominate Vice President Joseph Chang to be Vice President for 2022-23 year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have nominated Joseph Chang. The motion has been made by Ms. Shelley Ryan, seconded by Francesca Gill. And with that, we will take a roll call. Francesca?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Joseph?
I,
Board Member Kelly?
Yes.
And myself, I. And with that, Mr. Chang, you are sworn, you have been selected to be our Vice President.
thank you.
At this time, we will take nominations for the office of clerk.
I like to nominate Jen Chong as the clerk for the 2022 to 23 year.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryan. Oh, I forgot to ask if you would accept. I assume you would accept, Joseph. Okay, and for myself, I accept the nomination. And so it has been nominated by Joseph Chang that I would serve as clerk, has been seconded by Shelley. And we will now take a roll call. Francesca? Joanna?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Joseph?
I,
Kelly?
Yes.
And I for myself. And with that, I have been named as the clerk of the board. And at this time, I think we need to do a little bit of rearranging.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to take a very brief pause while we shuffle once again.
Yes.
We're good.
Is it always?
You have a charger or somewhere? No, you need to just plug it in.
Thank you for that pause. Next on 8C, we have the appointments to board committees and board representatives. The board will decide on board appointed committee members and representatives for the following. I'd like to just read each of the committees and so that you have a moment to get settled. Academics Advisory Committee, Athletics Advisory Committee, Arts Activities Advisory Committee, Facilities Advisory Committee, City Liaison, First Task Force, Health Benefits Committee, LAC Committee on School District Reorganization,
Laxta representative, legislative representative, PTA council representative, San Marino Recreation Committee representative, Safety and Wellness Committee, San Marino Schools Foundation. And should there be board president down here?
Well, we should just say Sean Ryan because you're doing, but we didn't know who the board
Oh,
president was gonna
okay.
be, so that's why it just says board president.
All right, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to hear from the board members.
Okay, first of all, we've been discuss about the which committee we want to have for the incoming year. So I remember the time we mentioned academic, athletic, art, and activity advisory committee, because currently I think the administration, they already fully prepare and planning. So I would like to suggest maybe we can temporarily table for this 3 committee, not to appoint the representative, because right now I know Dr. Territory and the cabinet, they've been planning for a lot of for the curriculum or activity. So I think that probably will spend too much time. Yeah, so I suggest maybe just temporary table for these 3.
Thank you for that. Anyone else like to discuss this any further upon Mr. Chang's recommendation?
I would agree with Mr. Chang on tabling that until we have a timeline in place of what we know what we're doing and what the mandates and charges will be for those committees, which
Okay.
takes some communication and consideration.
So do we need to take roll call on this agreement, or this is just an agreement we can have? That we will wait for the timeline for academic, athletics, and arts advisory committee to convene and then to assign members.
I think when we make when the board makes a motion, we can include the fact that we are postponing or tabling those 3 advisory committee meetings to a later date
Mhm.
as part of the motion that we make for the overall item.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, next are some of the other committees. I know that you guys haven't had much of a this, particularly the new board members, to look at these committees. Should we have a go at it or wait?
I had a question of just logistics first. So in the past, the president served as the representative for the city liaison, the PTA council, and the foundation. Are we
Mhm.
continuing with those practices?
I think we should.
So then at that point, those are taken. And then I guess the question is whether or not we're going to have 1 or 2 for the rest of the committees for representation.
Mhm.
If I may, I think that the president should also represent us at the Facility Advisory Committee, just because it's such a big undertaking that we're gonna have.
Okay.
Shelley, is that all right with you?
That
I would like to
Join me?
Do you no. Do you like to serve for facility, or because we did a couple time bond is ready to pass to the, I think, the next generation to
Mhm.
to serve for the.
I think we can both serve on it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Both being,
So like a facility advisory committee will be 1 person or 2 person.
I would like to serve on that committee if that's
Yeah.
all right,
Oh,
alongside you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Joseph does too.
No,
I
I mean,
think he
the
was just
is that
saying
1 or
to
2?
Joseph, were you suggesting yourself or?
No, I suggest maybe you are 3 or 1.
So I would like to serve if that's all
Okay,
right.
with me, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have questions, particular the new members about any of these committees before you kind of sign on? Some of them have different, they have different meeting times. They have like, some of them meet quarterly, some of them meet at different times. So do you have any questions for us?
What is the first task force?
Oh, yeah, actually, we need
So,
to.
If I may.
You wanna do-
If I may address just a couple of these committees that we presented to the board for discussion. The first task force was a task force that the previous superintendent, Dr. Jeff Wilson, put together when we were having some financial concerns, and we had to convene a committee of stakeholders to look at our financial resources and stability. It was a financial resources and stability task force, and they called it the first. So that committee is not necessary at this time. And I don't see that committee as being one that will be necessary for the remainder of this year and all of next year. I can't speak to, the third year out. But I don't think that it's necessary to have that be a committee that we're talking about this year. Nor do I think that the recreation committee, because I did confirm with the interim city manager, Mario Rueda, that the recreation committee at the city is no longer meeting.
Wow.
They have a recreation commission, but that is limited to city personnel. And I did ask if they needed a school board member to serve, and the response was no, that they didn't feel that that was necessary at this time. So that's one. That
How
we can
about
take off.
the next one, the Health Benefits Committee? Mr. Chang, you were on that previously. Is that committee?
It was some member they like to know they can serve, but I was there to attend and not over to 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of
Are we
this,
okay?
my last 4 years, so someone need to understand.
Will that be okay
Yeah.
that Mr. Chang continue on the Health Benefits Committee?
But if someone interested, please come. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
They're not shy. They can let us.
Wrong ad only limit to
2. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next is LAC Committee on School District Reorganization. We do not need that.
Yeah,
right?
but that actually is a county committee that convenes once a year to vote on the representative. And so the name of that committee is a little misleading, I think. It has nothing to do with district reorganization in the way that we think of district reorganization. So it used to be that whoever was our LACSTA representative would also attend and be the person who would vote on behalf of San Marino's Board of Education during that one meeting that takes place only. again,
One
once a
meeting.
year.
All right. So who would like to
The
represent?
same person that's the LACSTA rep.
Mhm.
Can we also dive into what LACSTA is then?
Yes, LACSTA is the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. And so it's school boards from Los Angeles County that get together. Sometimes superintendents will attend, but it's primarily school board members.
How often do they
And
meet?
Jane, it's on Zoom. Most of the time you can do hybrid, but
Where-
Jane represented us, so.
They're about once a month, usually on Monday evenings, and you can attend either in person or on
Do you
Zoom.
want to continue or do you?
I can continue unless somebody
No,
wants
it's up
to.
you.
I'm open to do it, but if you want to continue, you're.
That's fine. I'll continue on.
Okay. Legislative representative.
Oh, actually, just a quick question then. So then, for the LACSTA, that would also include the meeting for the district. Organization, right?
Reorganization, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, legislative representative.
Can we talk about what the legislative representative?
Absolutely. Mrs. Delatorre. Sounds funny to say.
Oh,
This Mrs. Delatorre, that is no relation to me, by the way. There's no nepotism going on here. Can you talk about what the legislative committee? Thank you.
We could move on while we're waiting for that. Safety and Wellness Committee. Previously, Mr. Chang and myself served on that. But if someone is interested, we meet during the day at about 9 o'clock in person here in this room. We meet twice a year. Is that correct, Dr. Lin? Yeah. So previously I served and Mr. Chang served.
I am happy to serve on that.
Okay.
I could do it alongside you if that's.
Yeah.
Joseph, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Francesca and Joanna.
Joanna.
And what sort of safety and wellness are you referring to?
So this is a committee that was originally required by our food service department to meet some of the obligations and requirements that they have for their reporting. But we extended it to the overall student safety and wellness. So there are things like student nutrition that are discussed. Food services does a report. We also talk about the physical safety of each of our campuses, earthquake drills, fire drills, active shooter drills, just, soup to nuts, everything involved and under the umbrella of student health, wellness, and safety. We also have members of the city that come, usually the fire chief, the police chief, people like that who will talk about the broader issues. Traffic studies have been discussed at that level. So there's just a variety of interesting topics that come up.
Yeah, it'll be a very important committee because as we're looking at potentially a future bond, the safety issues. So Joanna and Francesca, that'll be a good board for you guys to serve on. So Jennifer, are we ready for the legislative representative? Okay.
I have a quick
How about-
question,
Mhm.
if she's still looking, if that's okay. With regard to tabling the 3As, right, the 3As, what sort of schedule are you waiting for, I guess, is what?
So we're looking at a timeline to come up with when it might be possible to put those committees together. There's a lot of work involved in that. And the school district is currently focusing on increasing our CASP scores, which is a high priority. Working on that with all of our principals and our teachers. We have a huge professional development initiative. We're in year 2 of the Universal Design for Learning, multi-tiered systems of support, positive behavioral intervention strategies. That's a big focus. We're also looking at safety. As we've said before, we've had JREC come out and do a sweep of our campuses. So that is a big push. We're getting ready to convene the Facilities Advisory Committee. And there is a lot of staff time and work involved in that. We will need to have a needs assessment done of all of our facility infrastructure. We're going to need to have a facilities master plan done. There's a lot of meeting and planning and preparation involved in that. We are in the middle of looking at the 4 broad-based board goals that we're working on. And so we are, staff is very committed to making sure that we're meeting the goals of the Board of Education. We have risk management that we're currently very focused on, which involves a variety of things that we usually talk about in closed session that you will get caught up to, brought up to speed on in very short order. There is just so much happening right now. It's probably more than we have ever had on the table at one time in this school district since I've been here. And so we want to make sure that we are not overloading our staff and getting to a point where we can't do the things that we need to do as a priority well. And so what we're doing is focusing on our priorities and making sure that we can do a good job on behalf of the board and our students.
That
Okay.
makes sense, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Delatorre, did I hear you correct that the San Marino Recreation Committee is not active right now?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're gonna put that in brackets. Okay, and so we will come back with the academics, athletics, arts, and activities, the 3 category, and
And just to be clear, I want to make sure that the board knows that doesn't mean that we're not doing anything in those areas. We are. We're fully engaged in those areas. It just means that we're going to postpone
The committees.
committees, that's all. Yeah.
Can I make a comment on this 3A committee?
Mhm.
Since I suggest postpone. So this 3A committee actually is very important. But for last several years, the function are really enhanced, and due to the certain reason, as you know, we are a smaller school district, so we are not like Alhambra school district or big school district have a lot of staffing they can serve to help. And actually, before our new administration and a new board, I think the administration, they already prepare the lot. I think Dr. Directori, I would like to suggest maybe under this 3 category, you can list what you are doing right now to share our 5 board members. So at least they know, oh, we are doing, yeah. Yeah, so I think that will be,
We can agendize and make sure that
Yeah.
Dr. Delatorre does that. All right, so okay,
So we can research that, and I'm so sorry, we don't have that prepared for you this time, and I'm not familiar with that committee at all, so. I didn't know if any of our existing board members had served as a representative to the legislative committee. Okay,
Oh,
so he
can-
would have been the perfect
yeah.
person to share that. Isn't
Yeah.
it just bringing forward the names of the representatives that the board has to take action on and vote on?
Yes.
I think that's what this is about, because the board will take a vote on
Mhm.
legislative representatives. I think it's once a year. And the representative to that committee is the best informed on those that are up for either reelection or they're campaigning for election. And that person comes back and does a presentation before the board. Does that sound right? But again, we'll bring it back to you to make sure that, you know, we're accurate on that. Do you remember, Jane, or not?
I do
No,
not.
okay,
Yeah, he didn't bring it up.
okay.
Okay, I just want to remind the board, or to introduce to the board, the concept of why we have appointments. Besides the fact that we're attending and representing our school district, I would also like, when we're sharing out on our activities, that if you have a meeting on, say, for example, safety and wellness committee, that you present out. So on top of saying, you know, I was at this performance or I attended this workshop, please share out the information so that we all have the information, because we can't all attend due to Brown Act violations. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to move on. Certification of signatures. Oh, I need a motion for all of this. That's right. All right. So I would like a motion, if someone can state how we are going to hold on the 4As, and then each of the members, and then someone can second.
I
Do
can
we?
read that.
Okay.
So make the motion as read. And then,
Mhm.
okay, so Academics Advisory Committee, table, Athletics Advisory, table, Arts and Activities Advisory, table, Facilities Advisory Committee, Shelley and Jane, City Liaison, Shelley. The first task force is being taken off the list. Health Benefits Committee, Joseph. LAC Committee on School District Reorg, Jane. LACSTA Representative, Jane. Legislative Representative, we'll revisit that. PTA Council Representative, Shelley. San Marino Rec Committee is no longer on the list. Safety and Wellness Committee, Joanna and I will do that. San Marino Schools Foundation, Shelley.
All right, one last thing on the city liaison. Generally speaking, 2 of us go to meet with the city council members. So previously it was Lisa Link and myself, Joseph and myself, somebody.
I'll go.
Okay, any other discussion or offer? Okay,
So who will serve for city liaison?
myself and Francesca. because they will have two representative. So we want to keep it.
So I'd like to make a motion to pass this committee as read.
Second,
All right.
Local.
Yeah. With no other discussion, I'd like to do roll call. Francesca,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jane,
aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and student board member, Miss Kelly Trin. Okay, thank you. The motion passes. All right, next on 8D, certification of signatures. The authorization from the Board of Education is requested for newly appointed board members, Mr. Chang, Mrs. Ryan, Mrs. Joanna Lamb, and Mrs. Francesca Gill. What do I have to do for this one? Certification of signatures, just that I read it?
Yes.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. All right, and 8E, compensation for board members. In accordance with the provisions of section 35120A5 of the California Education Code, board members for a district of less than 10,000 ADA, more than 1,000 ADA are entitled to receive a maximum of $240 compensation per month. The board will be asked to determine the amount of compensation members will receive for their services. At this time, do you have the documents prepared for us? Okay.
Actually, yeah, we need her. Can you call her back in, please? Sorry. So we need to discuss the compensation for board members. Do we have a handout for the board on that? Okay, and the certification of signatures, we just went through. Okay, so she will get that signed by all board. Yes, okay, great. So she'll bring that, the certification of signatures back to the new board members to sign. And this item, President Ryan, is really about the board considering, because you do have the right to receive compensation. Whether or not you want to receive that compensation per month, or you want to do what you have historically done as a Board of Education in the past, which is to waive receipt of that compensation and donate it back to the school district. And that's entirely up to the Board of Education. So there should be a discussion about that.
I'd like to waive. I second.
Myself included.
What?
Joseph wants it.
Do you want the money, Joseph?
Do you-
I thought we make a motion and then second and then vote.
No. Is there any further discussion? All right, so I would like to, okay, Joseph. Like to do roll call, if there's no other discussion. Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member. All right, thank you so much. The motion has passed. The documents will be prepared for us to sign.
And thank you for your generosity.
By the way, I haven't seen the green star since 2001. So we're continuously.
Please, you've not seen it for 21 years and you're not going to.
We're gone all of $8
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point.
Yeah. All right, so next, item 9, public hearing, AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining agreements. The San Marino Unified School District Board of Education is holding a public hearing this evening on the 2000,
CSBA nomination.
I missed it? No.
On the
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Good thing I don't need glasses. Okay, 9F, we have CSBA nominations. You just did that to make me read that again. CSBA nominations, the Board of Education will discuss and nominate an SMUSD board representative for CSBA Delegate Assembly. Do I have any discussions, questions, or self-nomination?
Yeah. I do like nominate Jen Chong. Right? You like to do the data analysis.
Sure, I will accept the nomination.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Chang has made the motion and Francesca has second. I'd like to do roll call vote. Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chung,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
I
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Trin. All right, and so the motion passes. Public hearing AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining agreements. San Marino Unified School District Board of Education is holding a public hearing this evening on the 2022-23 AB 1200 report disclosure for the California School Employees Association, CSEA, chapter number 120, and management, administrative, confidential, and represented employees. This hearing is in compliance with California Government Code Section 3547.5, Education Code Section 42142, and the criteria and standards adopted by the State Board of Education. Dr. Lin, please.
Thank you, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, executive team, and student board member. Exactly what President Ryan just read, the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education is holding a public hearing this evening on the 22-23 AB 1200 report disclosure for the California School Employee Association, also known as CSEA, Chapter 120, and Management Administrative Confidential Unrepresented Employees. This hearing is in compliance with the California Government Code 3547.5 and Educational Code 42142 and the criteria and standards adopted by the State Board of Education. Let's pause for the meeting for a minute to collect public comments.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. We have no requests.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have 10, the consent section. Need a motion for the consent section?
So I actually need to recuse myself from one of the items as it does impact me financially because my daughter is one of the dance field trip participants. So if I would like to make a motion for approval of items 10A through 10I and 10K.
Okay. May I have a second for 10A to I and K presently?
second.
All right. So motion by Ms. Chong, seconded by Mr. Chang. Like to do roll call for consent
Can we
section?
have discussion? I need to
Oh, okay.
disclose for certified personnel documents and is it A, I believe? I
Okay.
just have a family relation, but it's not a conflict because it's all the same pay rate, so.
Okay. Does anyone have any further? So you're recusing yourself from A? Or you're just,
I'm just disclosing.
Disclosing.
I don't feel like I need to recuse, but.
Yeah, I don't think she needs to recuse herself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay. So it changes the motion then? Would someone like?
I don't think so.
No, I
No.
think we can just
I
vote.
think as long as
It's
she
just
just
a disclosure.
discloses.
That's
she can
just part of the
proceed.
discussion, disclosure.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Chong has made the motion. Okay, and you've second, Joseph has second. All right, roll call, Ms. Francesca Gill,
Aye.
Ms. Joanna Lam,
Aye.
Ms. Jane Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Joseph Chang,
I,
Mrs. Shelley Ryan, I, student board member.
Yeah.
All right, so the last
So I can't-
item is 10J, right?
I make a motion to approve consent section 10J.
All right. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gill and Ms. Lamb. And then I would like to, if there's no further discussion, do a roll call.
Aye.
Ms. Gill, Ms. Lamb,
Aye.
Ms. Chung,
Abstain.
Mr. Chang,
I,
Mrs. Ryan, I, and student board member, Ms. Trin.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, 11, communication section. 11A, communication from the Board of Education. Let's begin with Ms. Gill.
Make a motion.
Just should report out.
Do you have
communication.
anything you
Oh.
want to communicate?
I went to the CSBA conference this past week and learned a lot about the first 100 days of being a board member. And I'm just really excited to listen and learn a lot over the next 2 years of my term.
Mrs. Lam?
I also attended the CSBA conference in San Diego with Francesca. It was a very informative session. I learned a lot about what the board does and what to expect in the next 100 days. So I'm here with an open eye, open mind, open ears to listen and learn from everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lim. Mrs. Chong?
Thank you. Same as everyone else with the CSBA conference. It was a great learning opportunity about governance and special education, and that was stuff never learned about before. So that was a great opportunity also to spend time in person for the first time. I know Mr. Chang and Mrs. Ryan have been able to go to those conferences in the past, but being in COVID, I did not. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to be with people who I'm going to be serving alongside. And then along with the rest of the activities today, I did attend the gallery at the Kroll Gallery at the high school for art. And it was a great exhibition of teachers and art that the students did of their teachers. And I had a chance to speak with Ms. Pauline, who is the art teacher there. And we spoke a little bit about the Measure 28 funding for the arts. And so she had some really great ideas about that. And I told her, well, take those to Dr. Delatorre. So hopefully we'll see some really great things happening with that money.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang. Mr. Chang?
November 17, I attend the dance club performance, which is wonderful. And also between the November 30 to December 3rd, I attend the CSBA conference. I think everyone listen in the Friday section. I think they project what's going on for next 12 months in the California education. Definitely, I think mental health look like became the main piece to promote. And also there are also a little bit question about the state finance issue. So that's the CSBA highlight. And then the December 8th, I attend the Huntington Middle School Orchestra winter concert. And thank you to the Mr. Horson and Mrs. Simpson. And today I also attend for visual art gallery. Actually, I just sent 2 pictures to you. I don't, you are able to share with everyone. I think the student doing great. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. He can post later, yeah, but we
Okay,
continue, yeah.
it's not the one with the Miami Vice jacket, right? Okay. All right. So my report, November 16th, I attended a grief and loss training with licensed mental health counselors. On the 16th, I attended San Marino High School's On the Edge dance performance. Wonderful, wonderful, right? I think Dr. Lin and Mrs. Chong's children also performed. On December 1st, I attended the AEC conference, which was part of CSBA. And in that conference, the Asian Pacific Islanders School Board members presented on anti-Asian hate to solidarity. And they looked at how schools can combat racial bullying through the ethnic studies. It was presented by Dr. Russell Jung, who is one of the founders of Stop AAPI Hate, Dr. Marion Kim Phelps, who is the superintendent of Poway Unified School District, Dr. Diane Kitamura, who's a former Santa Rosa City Schools superintendent, and then John Ye, the attorney for Burke, Williams, and Sorensen. They really took a look at the data and looked at how schools can support and prevent racial bullying. On December 1st, I attended a workshop on disproportionality and equity. On December 1st, Stephen's got it all prepped for us. All of us attended the Golden Bell Award, and congratulations again to Dr. Stephen Choi for helping us get that. Okay. Mr. Chang is asking for a three-peat. That means you've got to get it the next year and the year after. So make us proud, Stephen, and the rest of cabinet. On December 2nd, PISMA, Asian Pacific Islanders School Board Members Association, they helped us to look at what school boards need to know in the coming years. And they had the Honorable David Min, who's the California State Senator from the 37th District, and Honorable Alex Lee, California Assembly Member from the 25th District. And Mr. Chang is correct. They proposed that school districts look very carefully at how to utilize the funding that we have to ensure that students with learning loss, and how do we mitigate all of that. Mental health is a priority, as well as I think it was David Min who said, don't sell anything, make sure that the school districts keep all of their lands and property, and that all of the money needs to go to the students. And so that was one of those words that he said that echoed. On December 6th, City Club President and Board Dinner, Dr. Choi was there with us. And December 7th, Friends of Kroll Public Library, the Friends are giving out candy canes and gingerbread house kits for the children who come into the store and buy books to read for the holidays. December 8th, Huntington Middle School Winter Orchestra Concert. We attended that together. I think Mr. Chang was there, and the cabinet was there, huh? Wasn't that a nice performance? And one of the things that was nice about the performance was Mr. Folsom and Ms. Simpson thanked their family for all the hours that they kind of sacrificed for them to be working with the children and to produce that concert. So on behalf of the orchestra, thank you to all the parents, the boosters, and the families, and for just helping to support all of our students in VAPA. On December 10th and 11th, we continue to meet and plan and look at retreats and program for school board members. And then on Mr. Chang, you didn't present on this, but December 10th, we attended the president of PCC's advisory board meeting. And then on the 10th, I also attended the elected officials luncheon. And then on December 10th, I was judging for the speech and debate team at Montebello High School. And finally, on Sunday, I concluded my report in volunteering at the Huntington Hospital. So that's my report.
President, if you don't mind, just a couple of seconds. I want to show
Your picture's
everyone.
ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So this is
Who is that?
you know, the student is wonderful.
Mr. Slim.
Oh,
So I grabbed the picture, yeah, to take a picture together, yeah.
Wow.
There were a lot of teachers represented as well as students, and they did it based off of photographs. That's funny. You see all three versions of them.
Very good. That's very good. Yeah.
Okay, that's it, yeah. No, actually, I have two more.
two more,
But
Stephen.
Didn't go through. Didn't go through.
So Stephen, you will update for YG.
All right, communication from the student board member.
So for San Marino High School, we now opened our PCC dual enrollment for the spring semester for the 2022-2023 school year. The programs have extended to offering 5 courses: Psychology 1 and 2, Kinesiology, Health and Social Justice, and Math 3. And the CAS testing began already finished for grades 9 to 12 for both ELA and Math. Our senior at San Marino High School, Benjamin Hughes, finished 4th in the 4th division in this year's CIF state champions. Hughes set a school and a personal record with a 3-minute mile of 15 minutes and 26 seconds. We had our Arts Rock on December 2nd, where 5th graders were invited to the San Marino High School campus to learn more about our backup programs, which included orchestra, concert band, dance, media arts, graphic design, and visual arts. On December 9th, Home for the Holidays, which is presented, we had Home for the Holidays, which is a choir concert presented by both the San Marino High School and HMS choir. On December 15th, which is this coming week, we will have our San Marino High School Wind Ensemble Symphonic Orchestra and Concert Band Winter Concert. At the HMS, they also have a winter concert for both Spartan Band, Wind Ensemble, Varsity Band, and Jazz Band on December 7th. And the following day, they had an orchestra concert. On December 2nd, they had In the Clouds, which is the winter formal for 7th and 8th graders. And in HMS, thanks to the partnership with the Partnership for Awareness Board, they were able to receive a grant supporting their wellness project. So students will be able to enjoy the immersive experience of mindfulness. Carver, on November 18th, students had a spirit day, which is College Day, where they were able to wear their college t-shirts with pride. For chess club students, on December 18th, they invited Mr. Christian Samoa, which is a chess expert, to talk to the chess club students. At Carver, they have the student council fall drive. It's a holiday and toy donation to the Union Station Homeless Program in Pasadena. And they had a principal for the day on December 6th, where Leland Chi was able to be the principal for the day and got to experience the joy of leading schools. So the students were probably happy with the extra 5 minutes of recess. At Valentine's, they have a readathon where students were able to read for families and friends and support the reading efforts by donating. And families and friends were able to support reading efforts by donating. And winners will get prizes. At Valentine, they also had the pajama drive where they were able to donate pajamas to benefit the Foster Children's Resource Center. And they will, on December 15th, they will have Rocking California Holiday where at the HMS auditorium, where grade levels TK to 2nd grade will perform, and there will be a special appearance by 5th graders. And something I forgot to mention for San Marino High School is that we have a Santa Teresa orphanage where students are able to encourage to donate a multitude of items from food items to toiletry to an orphanage in Mexico, a girls' orphanage in Mexico. And so far we have donated over 150 items. That will be all for my report today.
Thank you, Ms. Trin. Communication from our superintendent, Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, student board member Trin, executive team. Just wanted to share a little bit about what we have been doing, and I did so earlier in response to a board member's question. But the district's executive team has been exceedingly busy working on meeting the board's goals, as I mentioned earlier, with budget oversight, planning and implementation of the medical arts program at San Marino High School, the dual language immersion program that we are busily planning for implementation at Carver Elementary. We had an opportunity to go out with Principal Caldwell and Dr. Richter to visit a dual immersion school in Roland Unified School District. And it was really very impactful. We were able to see kids in action in that environment and look at the books that they were reading and using in their work and some of the activities that they were doing. And also Mr. Kayer accompanied us on that visit. So it was essential for our planning going forward, and we did learn a lot in that endeavor. We are also working to expand our dual enrollment with PCC. And we do have a meeting with a trustee next week, I believe, in the morning that we are looking forward to. Dr. Richter, myself, and that trustee are going to be talking about possibilities for expansion. So we're super excited about that. Additionally, we are planning our first facility advisory committee, facility needs assessment, and the development of a master plan, and whether or not those two can be combined into one document. We're also putting together an outline of our State of the District address, which will be held on February 28th in a larger venue. And so we are very excited about that. That will be held as a board meeting, but it will be the State of the District address. So you'll have the opportunity to hear all about what we are doing in the arts, athletics, activities, and academics disciplines. In addition to that, we are going to invite the San Marino Schools Foundation to do a brief presentation, and our PTAs to do a brief presentation. We also plan to have some of the student groups perform. And so we are looking forward to making it a very special occasion that we will extend an invitation to the larger community to attend if they wish to do so. And I just want to say that I've truly enjoyed visiting the campuses recently. This time of year, there's a lot of energy and things going on. I've enjoyed, visiting alongside my wonderful executive team, and the principals have been so busy. Our directors have been busy. We had an unanticipated electrical problem at Carver the other day. That our director of maintenance and operations was busy working on all day. And so we got that taken care of. So I just have to say, shout out to the leadership in San Marino schools. Really, they work together. They do the heavy lifting. They work so hard, every single one of them. They're here late at night on the weekends, early in the morning. And I'm just so proud to be their superintendent. Really, they're doing, the work that makes the most difference in our schools, principals, assistant principals, directors, and my wonderful cabinet, who I could not live without, not to mention Jennifer Delatorre, who not only works tirelessly to support me in my role as superintendent, but she works tirelessly to support all 5 of you and will continue to do so. And she's very, very excited about moving forward with the new board. So I just also wanted to mention that this is a special time of year and it's a happy time of year, but not for everyone. And there are some people out there who are really struggling this time of year with loss, with depression, with addiction, with, going through a divorce or loss of a relationship or loved one. And we have to be mindful and sensitive about that. And I hope that you will reach out to people that you know who are struggling and just extend a hand and really be there for them during the holidays. But I also hope that each one of you will get some rest and relaxation over the winter break, and that you'll have the opportunity to really spend quality time with your loved ones and pause just to reflect on all the things that we have to be grateful for and the relationships with the people who matter the most to us. So I just wanted to say that and say thank you for your volunteerism and your dedication and your willingness to move forward in a positive and productive way. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. All right, 12, it's an action item. This is the first interim financial report and long-range financial projections. This is 12A. The first interim financial report, long-range financial projections will now be presented to the Board of Education for review and approval. Dr. Michael Lin.
Thank you again, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, executive team, and student board member. Item 12A is an action item. The first interim financial report and the long-range financial projections is a routine action item that gets submitted to the county by December 15th. In the publicly provided posted board packet is the 101-page SACS report, along with my 7-page condensed narrative of the state of our district's finances, and 10 pages of attachments and supporting documents. Here is the presentation that captures some of the most important parts of the first interim report. Let's see. This is a PDF, right? Correct. This one? Okay. Awesome. Thanks. The school districts, all school districts in California have 2 reporting periods, with the first ending in October and the second ending in January. The first interim report is a snapshot of October 31st data, financial data for the district. The Board of Education holds the authority to certify these reports based on the latest projections on whether or not we're able to meet our financial obligations for the current fiscal year and 2 subsequent years, also known as the multi-year projection. There are 3 possible types of certifications: negative, qualified, and positive. As evidenced in our SACS report, we are in the positive range for board certification. That is with the good work of our fiscal and accounting team led by Vanjie Lingat, Director of Accounting. We can meet our financial obligations for the current year and 2 subsequent years. Now, our revenues assumptions primarily are based on a slight increase in enrollment, and we don't get funded by enrollment. We get funded by ADA. Enrollment allows us to staff FTEs. So
Dr. Lin, can you define CBEDS for those who may not know what that acronym means?
CBEDS is the information, CBEDS is a California basic educational data system that captures the enrollment number on the first Wednesday of October every year. So we have to take a snapshot of our school district's enrollment, and this is true for the 1,000 school districts within California, and that becomes the enrollment count that the state uses for apportionments. So we staff according to the enrollment numbers on CBEDS date, but ADA is how we get funded. Okay, so we don't get funded by enrollment, we get funded by ADA. Thanks for the question. And
we have to define the acronyms.
Right. ADA is the average daily attendance. So we get paid by the state based on attendance. So enrollment doesn't pay the bills. Okay, so ADA pays the bills.
Yeah.
And so again, the revenues are also based on LCFF funded ADA, making use of the 3-year averaging of ADAs. So we took the last 3 years, and that was an option provided to us this year, and that brings us extra revenues. An increase in COLA, cost of living adjustment, as seen in the state's enacted budget, and also receipt of local funds, which is consistent and predictable every year. So in total, I don't know if you can see this, $3.377 million is our net increase since the adopted budget. So this is wonderful news. because we have this additional 6.76% on top of the governor's proposed 6.56%, netting 13.32% COLA, cost of living adjustment. Now we use a 3-year averaging, which is the 144.38 additional students that we could use, tap into for the net of $3.377 million net gain in revenues since June. Okay, so this is the graphical version of the revenues assumptions. And you're going to see that about 25% of the revenues come from local sources in the form of parcel taxes, contributions from the San Marino Schools Foundation, and other local contributions. Now, the bulk of it is coming from LCFF, which is the local control funding formula, or state funding. And we have federal dollars amounting to 5%, along with the 1% in lottery. People do ask, how much are we getting in lottery? It's 1%, not that much, but it does matter. It does help our bottom line. In terms of expenditures, we have factored in the 7% ongoing, 5% one-time salary increases for our employees, as well as some additional hires that we recently had. There is a step and column cost of about $300,000 every year, as well as employee benefits that amount to about $11 million. Now, this gets into
Does
the
that
weeds.
bring us up to, I'm sorry, Dr. Lin, does that bring us up to inflation? And it does?
Yes, so in terms of inflation, it's factored in. Cost of living is one of those measures.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And on this side, we're looking at an increase of $3.5 million in expenditures, primarily from the increase to salaries. You might do the difference, $3.5 million in expenditures, and we're only bringing in, less than that for revenues. But some of this expenditures is in restricted funds. And so really, we are doing very well in terms of general fund expenditures. So this takes into account the new positions, additional custodians, as well as the increase to FTEs and school secretary positions. Now, the graphical version is this. And, I picked the same colors, so it kind of stands out a little bit more. Otherwise, it speaks a different story. Now, if you look at the same colors, you're going to see that more than 73% of our expenditures are in people, certificated, classified, and benefits. And the rest are in the form of books and supplies, operating services, and equipment.
And that's not unique to San Marino. That is very in line with every other school district in the state of California.
Yep. So more than 3/4 of our almost 3/4 of our expenditures are in people. And it should be, because we are people's business, right? Okay, this one I was trying to be cute with a cartoon. So the kid says something's missing. Yeah, like half of the money, right? And so this is just I guess a joke about how we have unfunded mandates or underfunded mandates, one of which is special education. The federal legislation, IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Act, promised 40% contributions to school districts' cost of educating students with disabilities. We get less than 9%. And we're not unique in that. It's true in Alhambra, it's true in Temple City, it's true everywhere. And so it is an underfunded mandate. And we do have more and more of those coming down because it's politically expedient at the state level, federal level, to pass those legislations. And then the school districts are stuck with those mandates.
Dr. Lin, I have a question.
Yes.
For the contribution to the special education, is that number including for some of the legal fee or no?
Yes, that does include legal fees, particularly to settlements. Anything that involves special education will fall under that. Yes. Yes, we do have legal fees. If they're not related to special education, they don't go under that silo.
So since we have a new director, so you think there's a room to reduce?
She just started. She just started. Yeah.
That is always our goal, but every child is unique,
Yeah,
and
right.
every child that comes to us from other areas or through the self, they all have different needs, and it's not one size fits all. So
Right.
we do have programs and practices in place to really be mindful of the money that we're spending, but we also have to do what's best for the child.
Right.
and make sure that that child receives the services and supports that he or she may need. So it's very, very challenging. And, you know, we are absolutely managing every penny with fidelity and, you know, conservative practices. But again, it comes down to doing what's right for kids. And, you know, it tends to be somewhat litigious in that area. And so it's a tough one for sure. And, you know, we could certainly benefit from more funding from the federal government to support that area. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. And we continue to advocate for that.
And along with exactly what Dr. De La Torre just said, if you look at the numbers, we're looking at spending $200,000 less than what we adopted in June. I would say kudos to the Educational Services Department under Dr. Richter's leadership, as well as special education for the hard work on implementing programs for the least restricted learning environments for our students. And-
UDL.
Yeah,
Mhm.
LRE is, you know, least restrictive approach, UDL being one of those programs,
Right.
models, paradigms, and
Mhm.
MTSS.
Mhm.
So, you know, that $200,000 is not easy work. It takes effort. It takes getting to building relationships with the families and meeting the needs of the students at the individual's child level.
Yeah.
But in the least restrictive manner.
Mhm.
Now, next slide. This is the ending balance, right? So for the, actually, let me go back one step. The $1.3 million in contributions to maintenance, this is statutory. This is part of the RRMA, and that acronym is the Regulatory Risk Management Assurance. So upon receipt of state funds, we have to put in 3% of our reserves in the maintenance, supporting the maintenance of our facilities. Okay, now ending balance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing about special education and the amount of money that we typically spend in special education? There's something called maintenance of effort. And so we are required to spend
Yep.
as much or more.
$1, at least $1 more the next year, unless our program is successful enough to, we're collapsing it.
Right.
So that's the hard work.
That's
that we got to do it correctly, not only fiscally, but from a program standpoint.
right.
So it is something that we're very serious about, because it is, you know, for lack of a better word, the traditional word is called encroachment, but really it's a contribution towards programs the students need. Okay. Great. Thanks. So the ending balance, you're going to see that we are fiscally very strong, extremely strong. Yes, we have the 3% reserve, which is statutory. We also, with the wisdom of the previous board, set aside committed funds in the amount of $8 million. And that basically allows a cushion for fiscal volatility. We have fiscal stabilization in the form of $2 million. We have the cash flow reserve, $2 million. The COP is the certificate of participation. This is the loan that we have, $6 million. In the construction of the Bath Athletic Center. And we set aside 3 years worth of interest payments in the amount of $1.5 million, as well as declining enrollment, anticipating declining enrollment. Of course, the effort is to increase enrollment or to sustain enrollment. So we are anticipating a decline, worst case scenario, and we have a buffer of $2.5 million for that. We also have assigned balance of $1 million. That's not committed funds. To commit funds, we need a board resolution assignment, which is listed up there. And for board goals, we have the 4 board goals, and we're looking at the $1 million. Again, kudos goes to the accounting team for transferring expenditures from general fund into restricted one-time funds to free up money to implement and to have the money ready for board goals.
And for those of you who were at the CSBA general session, when you heard John Gray speaking, he's the president of School Services of California, about the fact that we are in a unique place in terms of school districts having, on average, like a 20% reserve. And he said, and if you have that, good for you, because we're going to need it in the long haul. We're going to need it. They're watching the housing market. They do believe that we will go into recession It's just a matter of time. And so school districts need to have a reserve, and in San Marino, it is very important for us to have that, because as Dr. Lynn illustrated, 30% of our revenue comes from local resources. So when we last had Measure E on the ballot to be renewed and it did not pass, that was devastating for our district. And that's where the Fiscal Resources Stability Task Force came into play to try and figure out what we could do. We had to lay off 48 teachers because we were at risk of losing $4.1 million in revenue that supported those teacher salaries. And part of the reason why the previous board set aside this money in reserves is to be able to have a buffer in the event that we should be faced with a similar circumstance or situation in the future. Instead of us having to, give March notices, we'll at least have a year of planning, because we do have that reserve that we can tap into, which just gives us time. And that's one of the things that people said before, what's your plan B? Well, in public education, unless you have a huge reserve, you don't have a plan B. And in San Marino, we need it more than other school districts do, because they get a lot of supplemental and concentration grant monies that we will never see in our school district.
I have a question. Oh, sorry. I have a question. So when we talk about assigned balance for board goals, what sort of expenses are we actually talking about? Because I know that was something that came up in the last time we talked about it, but we never really
Defined it.
discussed what those expenditures may end up looking like.
So one of the things that we're planning to do is to hold a board budget study session wherein the board can talk about what some of those goals might be. We haven't defined that yet because the board was, going to be in transition. Now that we have a new board going forward, we can certainly identify what the board wants to do with that money. So we're looking forward to that in the new year.
We did spend one item on the, the building a culture of service. Increasing the site secretary's positions from 50% to 100% at each of the school sites.
Which is aligned with that particular board goal.
And the 2 custodians, making sure, the cobwebs at the sites are taken care of, because we, the look and feel is so important. Even though we might have electricity popping, our kids, we have to have good looking facilities.
Yeah.
And it takes people to maintain those.
Yeah.
The facilities.
I also have another question. So I recognize that the entire state of California, if not the whole entire nation, is in a state of declining enrollment. There is lower birth rates, there's immigration, lower immigration rates, et cetera. So my question is this: I'm looking at our interim assumptions and particularly the projected CBEDS enrollment, and we're showing a very small growth over the next few years. Can you speak to what that growth, in what areas are you anticipating that growth, and how does that line up with the issue of declining enrollment?
So that increase, I think it was 46 net since the adopted budget.
And it also projects out over the next few
So
years.
it doesn't affect our revenue stream this year, but it does impact the multi-year projection.
Right.
Because the way the multi-year projection works is we take the cohort model, right? If we have a large kindergarten class, that means next year the first grade class is going to be that number. We use that model, and it's a good predictor of future enrollment. And then we take that for second grade the following year. So we have to do 3 years projections. So in that sense, it actually augments our budget because we're looking at enrollment and then the percentage of ADA against enrollment.
And it assumes that our incoming kinder classes are going to be at or around the same number. And so the fact that we have that large kindergarten enrollment currently, we're assuming that that's going to continue in that assumption, which is why you end up with a larger number, because we did talk about that in the executive team when we were looking at that. We saw the same thing and asked, how are we coming up with a number when we talk about declining enrollment that is higher? So we're making assumptions, which is what you do, what we're trained to do. It may or may not pan out. We hope that it does. That'd be great.
And again, we're working really hard on stabilizing, if not increasing our enrollment through dual language immersion at the elementary, through the addition of a medical arts program at San Marino High School, and a variety of other things, dual enrollment opportunities with our partnership with PCC, marketing, the unique programs and offerings that we have for students, hoping that we can compete for students. And that's another thing that School Services of California has said loud and clear. If you are in a school district and you are not competing for every single student out there, you are missing the boat. And so that's where we are in the current climate, and that's what we're going to do.
So then I guess on that note, one concern that I have is that at some point, right sizing the staff to meet appropriate class grade levels is going to be something we just have to keep an eye on, I assume.
We're constantly looking at.
Yeah,
that.
we're constantly looking at what our staffing needs are for the following year. And it's not always the same. So at the elementary, you have TK through 5th grade. And those teachers have a multiple subjects credential, which allows them to teach any grade K through 6. And so our principals have the flexibility of being able to shift grade levels depending on what our needs are. So let's say we have 5 sections of 2nd grade at Carver this year, but next year we only need 4. One of those teachers is going to probably have to roll up to, 3rd grade or another grade level, depending on what our numbers are that year. And so there's a lot of flexibility there. Where it gets a little tricky is at middle and high school with single subject credentials. There's not the same flexibility, although we can move teachers from the high school to the middle school or vice versa, or we can share teachers, which is what we have been doing the past several years between the 2 secondary schools. And so it's a matter of getting our principals together with the executive team, going to look at their master schedules, at our enrollment numbers, the number of sections that they're going to need in a particular subject area in the following year, and engineering that and coming up with the best plan possible. So what that means, and the board should be aware of that, is that we may have to do reductions in force in some areas, we may not, but it's not going to be massive like it was when we didn't pass the parcel tax. And if we do that, it's not because we have a financial issue necessarily. It is more likely that we have an issue where we need less or fewer sections of a particular subject. So I just want to prepare you for that. Doesn't mean the sky is falling. And I'm not saying that we're going to be doing that because we're not there. But that is a possibility.
But that's only assuming if we can't retain our students and we see a drop. So as long as we're maintaining our student enrollment,
yes,
that's not something that would have to be looking at.
No, unless, when students submit their course requests to their counselors, unless there's, fewer requests for a particular class or course that's being offered in a certain section, that happens sometimes. But I'm not anticipating that this year, but again, we haven't looked at it yet. So we'll educate the board on that as soon as we do have more information in that area.
Thank you.
It's looking good so far, though.
Yeah, looking
good.
great. Yeah. So although we're deficit spending this year and next year, our ending balance is very strong. Not only is our budget strong, ending balance strong, our cash flow is super strong. We don't need to borrow from the bank. Interest rates are super high, but there's no need. We don't need to do trends this year.
Thank you.
Usually, October and March are the months when we run out of money, because that's when we're waiting for the property tax revenues to come in. No, we don't need to borrow.
Thank you.
So we're in really good shape, very strong shape. Therefore, it is recommended that the board approve the district's first interim financial report and certify that the district with a positive certification. So the green light.
Thank you. Do a motion? No.
Before we
discussion?
make a motion, I have a question. Can Stephen, can you refer to page 145? So there's a couple of questions about the interim report. Yeah.
Is it the narrative or the attachment or the section report?
The one to the county. I cannot open my person.
It is
that
the first interim general
Yeah.
fund.
Gosh, is it the whole packet from?
It's
Whole
the big
package,
packet.
Yeah, whole package,
Yeah, so if you go to the financial
sure if I have
projections,
that.
yeah, go to A
Yeah,
and then go to, shoot, what is this?
Or is it?
no,
might not.
entire report, yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It's formatted different for us.
Oh, it's in the board
SMUSD
packet.
page 5, I think,
Yeah,
if you go
yeah, I
past.
look, yeah, I think this one, they have the bottom, they have
Page 5,
the page number, 145.
145.
Is that the big packet?
this is-
No,
this
because
is-
that's
They
a
don't
different
even have
one.
that.
Try going to page 5. Is that one it? That's page 145 for us. Which one are you looking at?
I think it's supposed
This
to
is
be
page 145
page
for us.
1 or 2 of.
No, this one, they have a couple of questions, met or not met.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we are deficit
yeah,
spending.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So we have a several not met. Can you give us a explanation? Yeah.
Yes. So let's see, the average daily attendance. So this is, it's black and white the way it's defined. And the main one is the one about deficit
I'm sorry,
spending.
what page are you on? Other report?
This is page 2
Oh, page 2.
of the first interim SACS
140.
report.
145, I know.
It's
He's saying
formatted differently.
145 in the big packet.
Yeah, a big package,
In the
yeah,
big
right.
packet, it's 145. It's page 1 or 2
Yeah.
of
Page
the
2, met or not.
It's
interim
it's
report.
page 2 of the SACS report.
Okay.
So average daily attendance, it's not met because we're doing the 3-year average. We're taking advantage of the state option. But if it says not met, it doesn't mean that we cannot certify as positive.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
And you're gonna see that enrollment, we are trending down. It's a 3-year average. But we have the 46 up since the 46 additional ones since the adopted budget. The one that really stood out to me when our numbers were put into the SACS software was the deficit spending. And usually that's the one that gets us. If we deficit spend way too much, we may be qualified instead of positive. But in this case, on the 3rd year out, we're actually positive. We're not deficit spending anymore.
So they only look at the 3rd year?
They look at, so the way it's asked is any of those 3 years. Are we
Oh,
deficit spending?
any, okay.
Of
Yep.
course, we're deficit spending this year, but the thing is, if you look at the ending balance, okay, the ending balance really is the main thing. You have $12 million at the end of this year, $12 million at the end of next year, like 200,000 less than at the end of this year. And then we are gaining another $1 million at the end of 3rd year. So ending balance wise, we have enough money. We have more than enough money.
Right.
So we're fine.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what will qualify us as positive.
So I actually have a question about that because I'm looking at our expenditures for the material supplies and operating services, and they're significantly higher than our projections when we adopted the budget in June, which I understand are due to just increased costs. There's just a lot more supplies, and I'm sort of looking at this as almost a reset year, because we're really looking at a very different budget than what we had in the past, with the ending fund balance being what it is. So my question though is, when I look at the out years, I'm not seeing those same expenditures being projected out. And so I'm wondering how we're coming up with those numbers to see, if this is our expenditures this year and they're 51 million, as opposed to when we adopted the budget, it was 47.
Right.
What's happening? And then it goes back down in the out years. What are you anticipating that will bring those expenditures down in material supplies and operating services? Or at what point do we start adjusting when we look at the next year's budgets?
Now, in the multi-year projection budget, Stephen, in one of the attachments, instead of this one, if you zoom in, you're gonna see that the bulk of that, the supplies and materials is in restricted funds that are carryover from last year.
Okay.
So the sites have the option of using that money. It's like 160,000 and there was like 360,000 or something like that. So it looks like it's a lot of money, but it's money that wasn't spent last year, carried over to this year. The assumption is that they're going to use similar to what they used last year. And that's why in the out years, it's not as much. Let's see if we could zoom into this.
For example, the utilities went up significantly this
Yes.
year,
Oh,
more
yeah.
than what we had projected. So
Right,
did we anticipate those numbers in the out years or?
We, well, I think, like you said, it's a reset year because when we were going through the pandemic and we were virtual learning, we saved a lot of money in utility costs because we didn't have our classrooms populated. And so we didn't have the heat and the AC and the electricity going. And so it's very different, right, from the past 2 years going forward. And I think what will really, really help our Board of Education is when we have the board budget study session where the board can have opportunities to really dig in to the budget and better understand how it works. Because in public education, budgets are not like private industry budgets. It's very different, very highly complex. And so we need to take the time that you all deserve to really dig into the numbers, what they mean, and go over all the different reports that you're going to be looking at and evaluating and how we base our multi-year projections based on what. It's very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. De La Torre is absolutely right. During the pandemic, when we had the hybrid learning, it was half day. Prior to that, it was lockdown, right? We didn't have to incur that much in the utility costs. So this year, the cost of per kilowatt has increased, as well as the need to keep the classrooms open during those heat waves because of COVID. We have to
Yeah.
keep the windows and doors
Which
open.
we didn't anticipate that heat wave, right? I mean, that's very unusual.
Right.
So it was,
And so poor Gil, our director of maintenance operations, teachers are calling him, my classroom doesn't cool down. The rooms and windows are open because we have to get the air ventilation going. And so it is, so we have factored in an additional $600,000 and we're projecting the additional $600,000 to future years, even though we may not need to keep those doors open.
yeah.
Hopefully, right? Right.
So since we mentioned about utility, do we continue explore the solar panel?
Yeah, that's something that
That's
Dr.
another
Choi
thing.
and I were researching, and we had one of the presenters last time come. We're also looking at Government Code 4217 to see how we can leverage that to minimize the cost on our school district.
And this is something that the Facilities Advisory Committee is going to be looking at as well. With Dr. Choi and Dr. Lin.
So at this point, we need it is recommended by the district to have the board positively certify.
Yes. So if there are no other questions, may I have a motion?
I move to approve for this budget, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And so with no discussion, I'd like to do a roll call. Mr. Chang? Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Lam?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Ms. Trin?
Yes.
All right, motion is passed. Dr. Lin?
Thank you again, President Ryan. Item 12B is also an action item. This one-
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, to approve the tentative agreement between the district and the California School Employees Association, CSEA Chapter 120. I would like to thank CSEA President Marguerite Lindsay and her negotiations team for the open communication and excellent collaboration. The tentative agreement puts forth the same 7% ongoing and 5% one-time increase to salaries, along with mileage stipends similar to what the board approved for our teachers and certificated employees. It is therefore recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between SMUSD and CSEA 120.
Move to approve?
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Second,
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. No further discussion. Let's have roll call. Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chung,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member, Ms. Trin.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you so much to Margaret and the team, the negotiation team. And C,
Okay, item 12C relates to the AB 1200 financial disclosure for approving the CSEA agreement in accordance to California Government Code Section 3547.5, Educational Code Section 42-142, and the criteria and standards adopted by the State Board of Education. The district has publicly posted a disclosure of collective bargaining agreement in response to the CSEA tentative agreement for the 2022-23 fiscal year. The financial disclosure was also reviewed by the County Office of Education, which provided the district a signed letter certifying that we will be able to meet our minimum reserve requirement. Our finances are strong, and it is recommended that the board approve the AB 1200 financial disclosure report for filing.
thank you, Dr. Lin. Any further comments?
I have a question regarding this. So does this include the superintendent in this?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Not this one. The
Oh,
next
not this one, the next
It's a
one, sorry.
CSEA.
So, no, this is CSEA. I apologize.
Oh, sorry, we're still in the
Yeah.
CCA. My bad.
Thank you.
All right, no other comments? All right,
Move to approve.
thank you, Ms. Gill. Second.
Second? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joanna.
All right, Ms. Lamb. All right, no further discussion. Roll call, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member, Ms. Trin.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you so much for your work on this. Management Administrative Credential Unrepresented Employee Tentative Agreement, District Management Administrative Confidential and Unrepresented Employees have reached a tentative agreement, which will be presented to the board. Dr. Lin.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 12D is to approve the tentative agreement between the district and the Management Administrative Confidential and Unrepresented Employee Group. The tentative agreement puts forth the same 7% ongoing and 5% one-time increase to salaries and mileage stipends, similar to what was board approved for our teachers and classified employees. It is recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between SMUSD and the Management Administrative Confidential and Unrepresented Employee Group.
And so under this, I do want to circle back to what board member Chan asked. And in full transparency, we did get counsel on this. And so the superintendent is falling under the umbrella of management. So the superintendent would be included in this when you look at the language in the superintendent's contract.
So the only problem with that is that the language in the contract, it makes reference to performance evaluation, which we have not yet conducted.
Well, Jennifer Delatorre reached out to council and council said that it should happen automatically with this. So
I'm very uncomfortable. Let me state for the record, I do not have a problem with the superintendent being included in the management negotiations as it is understood. That is part of the contract. However, in the contract, the language does reference condition on a positive performance evaluation, which we have not been able to conduct neither last year nor this year as yet. I do not anticipate full transparency. I do not anticipate anything but a positive evaluation. However, I do feel it's important that we are adhering to the terms of the contract.
right, and it was my understanding in negotiating that contract that I would get the same increase as management, which is the history of this district. Every superintendent before me has always received the same increase at the same time.
And the amount, I do not dispute. I do not dispute the terms of it. It is literally just the provision regarding the performance evaluation.
And I totally understand and respect that, but I don't feel comfortable negotiating my contract in a public school board meeting. So maybe we can table this for closed session.
President.
Yes, I would Obviously, I'm not gonna put it in the parking lot, but I'm going to, this is separate than what's on the agenda, so we cannot discuss in individual in open. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it's not something that has been agendized.
Well, I think it's the interpretation
it's-
of the word management, but what the board can do is go ahead and approve this so it doesn't hold anything else up. And then we can circle back in closed session with the attorney to talk about the individual issue that board member Chan is raising.
I think, Mrs. John, if you had posed this question prior, was it answered for you? Because we don't want to do, an employee personnel contract in open.
Right. I did pose the question
And it was answered.
and it was answered.
Yeah, I didn't get the answers, so I
Well,
don't.
I think
yeah.
with the transition, everything was a little topsy-turvy. I would feel comfortable if we would have the next board meeting in closed session on the agenda of closed session, this particular item.
But
Not this particular item regards to the passage of the management negotiation, but the conversation regarding the performance evaluation of the superintendent. That is something that we have not performed in 2 years.
mhm,
That is something that we have in our contract, in the contract to perform.
mhm.
And so I would ask that that be something in the closed session that we would discuss. And if that is something we can agree upon, I would be happy to move forward with.
Yeah,
the
you
rest.
and I can work on that when we're working on the agenda. I don't think everybody needs to weigh in on it.
Well, if it's an agendized item, I'm sorry, I just don't know how the agenda gets set. So I'm not sure if this is something that needs to be.
Yeah, you've made the requests and I will talk with you about it and get it on the closed session, which is what you request.
Okay.
Yes.
And
okay.
with that, I would move to approve the tentative agreement with the management administrative confidential unrepresented employees.
Second.
All right, Mrs. Chong has made the motion. Ms. Gill has seconded the motion. I just want to note it. I understand why you're making this request, but I don't want to unravel and pull things out on the contract.
I am not unraveling or pulling anything out of it as it is written. I am asking simply that at the closed session of our next board meeting, that we discuss the performance evaluation of the superintendent as per our contract. It is not my intention to discuss the contract in open session. I understand what you're saying regarding that. So, but I don't know how else to approach this
Mhm,
without mentioning that part.
mhm.
And I feel that that's an important discussion to have then for the closed session agenda of our next meeting.
Mhm.
I am not intending to unravel anything regarding the compensation of our superintendent.
But there is a timeline for the evaluation of the superintendent, and we're still on that timeline. We're still on that within the scope of that timeline of the evaluation. I mean, the evaluation is for the spring. I mean,
Well, I think there are other.
yes, we can meet as a board to discuss how we want to move along the timeline. Obviously, it's within a parameter, but I'm just not sure why this is tied to that, like meaning the timeline's already set. We agreed to it in a contract.
Let me comment on the agenda. Actually, before this meeting, usually when the district secretary assistant, they send the agenda to us, I review. So I see all the agenda already there. So I did ask the Dr. Territory on is a previous the president or someone together and put this agenda. So I think this is a allowable. It's not a wrongdoing put in here. I mean because this is our first time we are dealing in a transition. So when we put an agenda, either the outgoing president with a VP or the because we don't we haven't elected the new officers, or new officer cannot to review. So I think we this is just this time. So this is just do one more time. Yeah.
I think I'd like to recommend that
Yeah.
My issue then be separated from the management administration confidential and unrepresented employee tentative agreement. I do not want my issues with the board to at all hamper them moving forward. They need to move forward. So let's separate me from them. If that's what the board wants to do, because I don't want to delay their increase.
Yeah, there's no issue with the board though, because it's one board member and we are going to agendize and meet and discuss that. There's no issue with the board.
Okay, because I just want the board to know that we did reach out to Candace Bandoyan, our counsel, and she is the attorney that negotiated the contract. And she informed Jennifer Delatorre that pursuant to the language of my agreement, that it would be automatic and that I'm covered under management. But I think
and Jeannie worked on this agenda.
And that's what I was told, but I understand your question and your concern. But I in no way want to delay the moving forward of management, administration, confidential, and unrepresented employees. So I just want to, make sure that that's clear. We can, move forward with my compensations separate from this conversation, if that's what the board chooses to do.
Okay.
I would feel more comfortable with that.
Okay. So this is an action item. So do you want to make the motion?
So I will withdraw my previous motion, which was just a blanket motion for this, and simply say that I move to approve the management administrative confidential underrepresented employee tentative agreement with the district, with the understanding that the superintendent will be handled under a separate issue. And that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Before we second, by the way, I like to make one more comment. For this kind of agenda, as usual, I think they always cover for everyone. But in the meantime, the superintendent evaluation, that's I think there's an ongoing issue. Yeah, so it doesn't mean because we approve this contract and we are not going to do the superintendent evaluation. So I just want to share with you what happened for the last 21 years. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? No. All right. Is there a new motion?
I move to approve as written.
Is there a second?
Can you mention your motion again?
I move to approve the public disclosure reporting. We're on C, correct?
D.
D. Management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employee tentative agreement. District management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employees have reached a tentative agreement which will be presented to the board, which has been presented to the board.
With the understanding that the superintendent is included. I think that's the only thing that's at issue.
Yes, yes, as it's written, not changing anything.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Oh, you're second. Okay. And further discussion? No further
Well, it's
discussion?
my
Motion?
I mean, I feel comfortable with it. I have reviewed the public disclosure for the contract and I feel like it doesn't conflict, so.
Okay. And thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Chang, for a second. I would like to do roll call. Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Nay.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Student board member.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. E, 2022 to 2023 AB 1200 report disclosure. This is a public disclosure reporting of collective bargaining agreements with the management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employees for the 2022-2023 school year. Dr. Michael Lynn.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 12E relates to the AB 1200 financial disclosure for approving management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employee group agreement. The financial disclosure for this group was also reviewed by the County Office of Education, which certified that we are able to meet the minimum reserve requirement. It is recommended, therefore, that the board approve the AB 1200 financial disclosure report for filing with the County Office of Education.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. May I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Gill, thank you. Roll call without further discussion. Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Student board member, Ms. Trin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion has passed. Superintendent discussion, any items?
I think, did we actually take a vote on the certification of signatures? Jennifer Delatorre was telling me that we are required to do so.
Okay, so I would
So
like
we
to
circle
do
back
that.
to that.
So can someone make the motion?
I move to approve the certification of signatures of the board members, Joseph Chang, Shelley Ryan, Francesca Gill, and Joanna Lamb.
Thank you, Ms. Chong. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Mrs. Gill. So roll call, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb, Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Ms. Trin. Thank you. And then do we need for the donation?
Do we have anything that the board would sign for the donation of their compensation back to the district?
It just goes into the meeting minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't need a vote.
In the past, we've not required any signature for that. It just go noted in the compensation.
And it was captured in the, okay. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, Dr. Delatorre, if you have nothing further or
I
you have any,
one
okay?
thing during the meeting, I texted Mr. Kalaki, since he was the previous legislative representative for the Board of Education. And he said that the duties are to try and establish relationships with Portantino and other legislatures and try to argue for increasing the baseline funding. So basically, it's what we discussed earlier, which is just reaching out to local legislators and really networking with them and advocating on behalf of public education and in particular San Marino USD.
So would someone like to do that?
I feel like that work kind of lines up well with CSBA, so I'll go ahead and take that unless either of you, anyone else?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right.
Do we need to make a
Yeah,
motion
we
on
do on that legislative. Or did we do, yeah, because you read out
But
each.
that was not
member.
as
No, we
read.
skipped it. We skipped
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just for the sake of expediency, I will move to add myself as the legislative representative for the board committee.
Thank you for accepting, Mrs. Strong, and nominating. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Roll call vote, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member, Ms. Trin. All right, motion passes with nothing else.
And one more
Can
thing.
I
Happy
adjourn?
holidays, and can you pass this down, please? And I have yours in my office because I didn't know if you.
I'd like to, adjourn. He has more. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, since the maintenance director here, so
Uh-oh.
I like to make a suggestion, you know, because our facility advisory committee is coming soon. So I think I want to suggest the CBO, you know, the director of maintenance. If we have something out order or on the facility issue, I think we should document and bring for the facility when they figure out what is a priority. So then they should know which area is the most serious. We need to emphasize for the future. You know, planning for allocation about the funding. Yeah. So this is my suggestion. Yeah.
I do believe that Mr. Gill and Dr. Lin will be attending those meetings.
Yeah, but not just attend the meeting. So because a committee member, they are outside, we are inside, we need to let them share, you know, what's going on, you know, facility.
Thank you. And so they'll be joining Mrs. Chong and myself, right? Okay. All right. Anything else, anyone? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.